Hello, I'm Rikki, the garden coordinator at the Salt Lake City Public Library.
And I'm Jeri, and I am the social media manager and photographer at the City Library, but all of my degrees and background are in environmental studies and resiliency studies. So today we're going to be presenting on building ecological literacy at the library. And very quickly, if you would like to pause this presentation or screenshot this slide, we have our definitions for ecological literacy, sustainability, and resiliency. We know that these words can have many different meanings for different people, so we wanted to be on the same page for our presentation.
We are both really passionate about facilitating a culture of sustainability at the Salt Lake City Public Library. And we're not just talking about recycling. We are talking about community resilience and food sovereignty. We're talking about dismantling oppressive systems of white supremacy and environmental destruction in the name of capital gain and progress. We believe that in order to provide our whole community with the free and essential services of the library, we need to cultivate growth that supports the people and the planet and the future. Today, we're going to share some of the City Library's sustainability success stories, our current projects, and a vision for a continuous culture of resiliency.
And to the left here, you'll see a map of all of our 8 locations throughout Salt Lake City. All right, so I want to ask you to think about the last time you were in a library. What did you do at the library? How did you feel? What services were you using? Think about happy memories you have at the library. Did you go to story time as a child? Did you ask a librarian for help with an essay in high school? Did you go into the library to print as an adult? People tend to think of libraries as a place of books and quiet spaces. And today we want to shake that idea up and show how vibrant, modern, innovative, and important libraries are, especially when we're talking about sustainability and resiliency. Sustainability and resiliency are a part of the framework, the foundation that libraries exist within and were built upon. Borrowing materials, not purchasing. Reusing and sharing resources with everyone in our communities. My absolute favorite thing about libraries is that they're one of the only places that people can exist for free. You don't have to buy a cup of coffee. We are community spaces open and welcome for everyone. And because of this, libraries make a community resilient. On this slide, we have a photo of all of our 8 locations. In the top left, we have Chapman, then we have Sprague, Sweet, Day Riverside, Foothill, Glendale, Marmalade, and then our main downtown library. I wanted to share a few quotes that highlight the importance of libraries and their contributions to resiliency. The first quote is from The Guardian. They state that social infrastructure provides the setting and context for social participation, and the library is among the most critical forms of social infrastructure that we have. It's also one of the most undervalued. The next quote is by Aaron Klinenberg, and he wrote Palaces for the People, an absolutely fabulous book if you haven't read it. Today, as cities and suburbs reinvent themselves, it's important that institutions like libraries get the recognition they deserve. Libraries stand for and exemplify something that needs defending, the public institutions that serve as bedrocks of civil society. And our last quote by Bright Futures. Libraries are one of the silent pillars of communities across the world. They highlight 4 capacities in which libraries advance community resilience through economic development, social capital, information and communication, and community competence. They also offer physical sanctuaries during disaster relief efforts, and they are a free, openly accessible site for children and adults to stay connected through internet access. Libraries have the ability to bridge gaps within our communities. The City Library has been working hard to lead by example when it comes to preparing for our future and trying to mitigate the effects of climate change. We've been taking small steps over the past few years, but we're really proud of the journey that we're on. This past year has been a great example of how crucial our libraries are and how we can help our communities in a time of crisis. In March 2020, the world changed, and the City Library along with it. When it became apparent that the pandemic would force us to close our doors, our staff hit the ground running to find new ways to continue to provide our services to the community. In 2 months, we donated over 10,000 books to nursing homes, Meals on Wheels, low-income schools, and other community services across the city. Our staff stepped forward in amazing ways to move and expand our services and materials virtually, and specifically support at-home education. We offer reading and homework help, educational packets, supplemental food for families, 3D printed face shields for medical staff. We've given out hundreds of laptops and have over 100 Wi-Fi hotspots for those without internet access at home. And these are just a few examples of the ways the library has stepped up during this pandemic. This year has really shown us what we're capable of as a library, but it also showed us that there's a lot of work that still needs to be done. On this slide, you can see in the top left our 3D printers in our creative lab printing the face shields for medical staff. Below that, a young boy enjoying virtual story time at home. The next picture shows our little hotspot kit that you can check out and use for free at home, so you can get internet access. Below is our staff dropping off donations of free computers. In the top right, we have people handing out free books for children. And then below that, we have a Meals for Wheels delivery giving away our free books as well as the food. So over the past few years, and specifically this past year, we have been making strides in our equity, diversity, and inclusion commitments, which are directly linked with sustainability because we can't have one without the other. We have established an internal EDI council, and they've helped create toolkits with reading, listening, and watching recommendations. We've also helped develop Let's Talk Race toolkits, designed to help caregivers use books as tools to talk to children about race, racism, and how to practice anti-racism. And we recently hired an administrative manager for equity, diversity, and inclusion, which is a brand new position. We're very excited about it. And this position will help define and create specific outcomes in all areas of library operations. I wanted to share this quote by our library director, Peter Bromberg, that was published in June. And he stated, "This isn't a matter of politics. This is about people's lives. As an organization that has a mission to serve our city, to be a community space, and to provide equitable access to information and resources, we recognize the need to not just state that Black Lives Matter, but to begin a process of self-reflection as individuals and as an institution. This means taking a hard look in the mirror to evaluate our policies and the role we all play in upholding systems of oppression and racism." And to the left, you can see a photo of one of our examples of our Let's Talk Race toolkits, which are free to check out for parents at the library. In addition to the EDI work that we've been doing, the City Library has a strong commitment to sustainability. And I just wanted to share a few examples of the things that we are working on. So all of our newest buildings, our Glendale branch and our Marmalade branch, are pretty new, and they are all LEED certified. And they incorporate a number of sustainability initiatives like solar power generation and water efficient water fountains. Even our oldest buildings, such as the Sprague branch, are becoming more efficient with LEED certification as we remodel them. And our Sprague branch should be ready this spring, so that's really exciting. You all have to go check it out. We also have made a commitment to a more efficient vehicle fleet, and we're also working on improving our energy and water efficiency at our main library. We're also one of the very first libraries to keep bees. We have rooftop bees, and we've had them since 2010. We even have a trained person on staff as a beekeeper. We give all the honey away for free to the community and offer many educational opportunities with our beehives. The library has also collaborated with Tree Utah, a local organization, to establish an eco garden at the Day Riverside Library. It's a perennial edible landscaping garden for public forage. And also, once the pandemic is over, we've made a commitment to become completely plastic bag free, which will eliminate around 40,000 single-use plastic bags from our community. The City Library also promotes alternative means of transportation. We have free bike locks available at all of our locations. We host all different kinds of bike programming, like bicycle repair clinics. And we also reimburse our staff for using public transportation. We have composting available internally for all of our staff, and we host internal trainings on how to lessen personal and work waste. This past summer, we partnered with the International Rescue Committee's CSA program, and we will be this summer as well, to make local organic produce available to all of our staff. We've been focusing a lot of time on sustainable education through hosting things like Fix-It clinics and Recycling 101 classes. I'll quickly talk about the photos on this slide. So in the top left, we have one of our new buildings, the Marmalade Branch, which is all kinds of sustainability features, including solar panels on the roof. Below that, we have a picture from one of our bicycle repair clinics, learning about how your bike works, how to repair it. The next photo in the next column is our picture of our bees, which we love so much. And every year we have a contest for the public to name our honey, so that's always exciting. Below that is a prize example for internal staff to promote less waste and minimize wasteful living. And in the top, we have our wonderful employee Pablo sewing. We have sewing machines available for checkout, also in our creative labs, and then through our Fix-It clinics where people can bring in all different kinds of materials and things to fix, so we're keeping things out of landfills. And then below that, we have our library carts, which are normally filled with books, filled with CSA fresh produce for our staff to pick up. So with all of those different important and great sustainability initiatives, I think the most important and most innovative one thus far is what Rikki's going to talk more about, which is our urban garden and our seed library. Take it away, Rikki.
Thank you so much, Jeri. I don't know if this is the most important initiative, but it is. I do have the really amazing privilege to be able to be the garden coordinator at the Salt Lake City Public Library. So first I'll talk about the plot garden. We are a community garden, and we I manage this garden. In this slide, there are 3 flyers that kind of describe what the plot does in a way. The plot of land for giving hands, know and grow, well-read and well-fed. The plot is located on the north side of the main library in downtown Salt Lake City. The space contains 18 4x8 garden beds that are managed like a community garden, as well as a perennial herb garden and some tool sheds. The image on this slide depicts an overhead map of the city library showing indicators of where the plot is and its entrances. So, what is a community garden? Every year, community members apply to garden in one of our 18 beds, and they get to grow there for an entire season. Gardeners are invited to use our library tools, our compost, and other resources for growing food. They grow this food for themselves and their communities. So in these photos, you can see on the left, there's a collection of library employees planting cover crop into a bed. And on the right, there's a mother and a daughter holding some freshly harvested garlic. On principle, the Plot Community Garden and Seed Library are places of learning and growth. We offer programs and resources for anyone and everyone to be able to grow more of their own food, but also just enjoy the delights of being in a garden. We have sustained programs for the public, including garden yoga, performance art, and more. We are currently sustaining a library book club, and as well as working with detained youth outside of the plot, but still related to the plot. This photo shows a row of people meditating on yoga mats in the garden, and the photo on the right shows a head of cabbage glistening with the library in the background. We've offered hands-on garden skill building workshops, and we've also collaborated with the children's librarians to host regular garden story time at the plot. The left image shows kind of some examples of workshops that we've done in the past: garden fundamentals, learning how to compost, garlic harvest, herbalism, and how to plant cold weather crops. And there's also a flyer for garden story time at the plot for kids and caregivers to be able to have a place to bring their young ones. And there are 3 children eating leaves. In 2020, we've shifted to using more virtual platforms for education and outreach. We've created videos on saving seeds, making tea and broth straight from the garden, and we're looking forward to making more online resources for patrons to utilize in their own efforts to grow more food ethically and sustainably. I did mention the book club that happens every 2 weeks, and that is a thriving program that occurs, and it's sort of a way for people to engage with literature related to gardening, ecology, and social justice, and also kind of network within their community to work on their own gardens or activism related projects. So if you would like to sign up for that book club or get involved, there are ways to do that. And then we have a video here. It's an example of a video that we created to illustrate the process of planting garlic in the fall time. So cue that up.
This is Rikki. We're back at the plot garden, and today we're going to talk about garlic. This is garlic we grew right here at the plot. You're probably familiar with garlic, how it smells when it's roasted in the oven, nice and sauteed in olive oil. You've probably heard that it has a relationship to ward off vampires. This is known as the head of garlic. In Spanish, it's la cabeza. And each of these is known as a clove of garlic. In Spanish, it's a diente, or a tube. Make sure you want to plant these the root side on the bottom and the pointy sprout side at the top. So what you'll do, you'll use a trowel or even your hand, dig a hole. You want it to be about as deep as your pointer finger, and you'll place the garlic clove into that hole. You'll cover it up. Many annual plants prefer to be planted in the spring. Garlic is special in that you plant it in the fall, right around Halloween or Election Day. You harvest it right around the 4th of July. Once you've planted all your garlic out, you want to make sure you give it a sturdy amount of mulch, good amount of mulch, just to ensure that they get all covered up and they stay insulated for the winter. So, do you think you could grab me some mulch? Oh, thank you. Now we have a beautifully prepared garlic bed. It's all mulched in, and you don't even have to worry about it until the springtime. You get some irrigation on it, make sure it gets watered, and then people come harvest in July. So much for your help here. Can we express gratitude for this nice bloody beaver? Yes, thank you so much for coming and learning about how to plant garlic. It's a beautifully simple process, and you can grow this nutritional, medicinal, and vampire friendly. That's it. It's fine.
Awesome. Wow, it feels like it's been a while since the fall time. We're starting to see some of those little garlic plants poke their little heads up out of the soil now. So many stories. The former garden coordinator, Emmett Wilson, described the plot as a learning laboratory for library patrons to sow, grow, and share using sustainable gardening practices. And each gardener is the author of their own plot, fostering life and learning in an otherwise vacant urban area. Yeah. In 2020, when the plot closed due to COVID-19, we installed an edible landscaping bed that is accessible from the sidewalk adjacent to the library's northern boundary. Sadly, we had to close the gates and lock everything up and couldn't allow any of the public to come in. So we wanted to bring the garden outside and be accessible to the general public. Edible landscaping is, or foodscaping is a modern term for the practice of integrating edible plants into ornamental landscapes. And it's been described as a crossbreed between landscaping and farming. So this is one technique that we've used to reach our community. And the photo here depicts two volunteers planting rhubarb and sorrel into our edible landscaping plot. In 2020, also, since we were unable to host our normal thriving community of gardeners and programs, we were able to support our most at-risk communities. We grew the garden beds to the best of our ability and donated the produce to the Women's Resource Center downtown. We also saved as many seeds as we could to add to our collection, the seed library. In this slide, you can see some photos of two people sharing a box of vegetables to be donated to the Women's Resource Center. Some hands threshing amaranth, which is a beautiful bright purple flower, threshing the seeds out so that we can save those and plant them next year. There's a little pumpkin from our pumpkin patch, and also Rikki tending the edible landscaping plot. So what is the seed library? Well, the mission is to establish a culture of saving seed, encourage growth of local plant varieties, and cultivate a community of sharing. Library visitors can browse our catalog. Currently it's online, seeds, as they would browse the book catalog, also online. If they wish to check out seeds for their home or community gardens, they become members of our seed library at no cost. A member of the seed library is not obliged to have a library card, nor do they have to return the seeds, although we really highly encourage members to grow out their crops and to be able to harvest and return a portion of them back to the library. So in doing this, we are building a culture of resilience and food sovereignty. The photo depicted in this one is a card catalog that's been converted into a seed envelope holder for patrons to be able to find their seeds. When we talk about food sovereignty, we are talking about a food system in which the people who produce, distribute, and consume the food also control the mechanisms of food production and distribution. In contrast to the present corporate food regime in which corporations and market institutions dominate the global food system. So whereas food security is a measure of the availability of food and access, food sovereignty indicates a more integrated relationship between communities and their food source. The photo here depicts seeds that are arranged to spell the word seed, various beans, peas, and a mustard, and then 5 packets of seeds and a bookmark with information about the seed library. In 2020, we were also able to donate seeds to mutual aid organizations such as the Native Arts Youth Initiative on the Navajo Nation. And the image depicted here is former garden coordinator Emmett Wilson with a box of seeds to donate. And it's a post by the Clever Octopus, which is a partner organization. Let's see. In addition to this, we were able to distribute over 800 individual orders of seeds to people, families, and organizations throughout the Salt Lake Valley and beyond. The community was really grateful for the seeds, and they were eager to grow and give back. You can see in this slide, it's a series of posts that patrons made appreciating the seeds that they received, and they all include images of seeds and then messages of appreciation. I will share a quote by library employee Brighton Sampson, who said, he wrote an article about the plot library, the plot garden and the seed library. He said, with the plot, the city library is serving the community in ways that might be surprising to people who think of libraries as places for books and quiet contemplation. But the modern public library aims to support pathways to a healthy community, specifically physical, mental, and emotional health, and facilitating solutions to our city's health concerns. The plot contributes to this by allowing urban residents to learn by doing, to feel the satisfaction of eating wholesome organic produce they've grown themselves, and develop skills and habits that they can carry through life. This quote, I think, really captures what the plot is and can be to the community. The image here depicts 8 young children and 2 adults working in a garden bed, kind of playing in a wheelbarrow. And then on the right, there's kind of a moving image of a young girl demonstrating how to properly harvest a zucchini. Twist and pull.
Awesome. Thank you, Rikki. So just to conclude our presentation, I want to talk about the best ways to support your city library. One of the best ways you can support your city library or any library in your community is to use it. Make sure you sign up for a library card, use the free resources, partner with the library on your events, follow their updates and spread the word. Check out the materials, which are more than books, include things like hotspots, sewing kits, telescopes, ukuleles. Your city library is so much more than books, and we are here to support our community in any way we can, which includes planning for our future, planning for a future in the age of climate change. While looking at the projections and the inevitable impacts on our community from anthropogenic climate change, environmental racism, and rapid loss of biodiversity, the library is moving in the right direction, but we still have a lot of work to do. This is something we pledge to continue working on. Libraries are and will continue to be an irreplaceable pillar of community resiliency and are working towards becoming leaders in community sustainability and ecological literacy. And we want to end with a little video that we made at the end of 2020 to just highlight how the city library is here for you.
Worn out my welcome, I'm bouncing off the wall. I wanna take you with me, I wanna take our fall. Go straight on through whatever. I wanna go straight on through whatever. Hi everyone. My name is Doug, and I am here to read you a story.
And if you want to connect with the City Library, you can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, sign up for our e-newsletter, or visit our website at slcpl.org. Thank you so much for listening.